Good afternoon and greetings to everyone who have just joined us through our official channels on Instagram and Facebook. My name is Dzulisa and I want to welcome you to day one of our online event named Online Youth Activism, the Power of Hashtag. This is our 3 days event, so we expect to see you tomorrow and on Thursday because we have more interesting guests coming up. I'm so glad that I have been given this opportunity to be today's host and to speak to one of the most inspiring young persons of today. Dear guests and dear friends, it is my pleasure to introduce our first guest speaker at this great online event, and that is Moha Gerehou. Hi Moha, how are you?
Hi, Dzulisa. Thank you. Thanks for the organization, for inviting me. And I'm so glad to be here and ready to start.
Thank you. I must say you look pretty good today. And I even saw that you got a new haircut.
Yeah, I got a new haircut, and tomorrow I have a new book. So I think we are in a new era.
That is so amazing to hear. Before we move on with our chit chat, I would like to quickly introduce you to our audience, if you don't mind. Okay. Moha Gerehou is born in Huesca in Spain, with roots from Gambia. He's a journalist for eldiario.es and has been the president of Federation Sos Racismo and Sos Racismo Madrid, both in Spain. He works in different areas related to anti-racism, especially focused on the media. His work has been through articles and videos, has been published in different magazines as well as online. He has also developed If I Were a Black character in a movie, a show about the representation of Black people in TV shows, movies, advertisements, and photography. Moha is also the proud author of the book ¿Qué hace un negro como tú en un sitio como este?
Yes.
Have I pronounced that well?
Yeah, you pronounced it well.
Thank you very much. I always kind of knew that growing up with Spanish telenovelas would pay off one day.
Yes, sure.
So Moha, I've been stalking your social media profiles for a bit, and I noticed some great news on your Twitter. So I can't wait to share this with our audience. You are publishing your book tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah, is that correct? And I'm so excited, and I'm really right now I'm so nervous because it's the first time I publish a book for myself, and this moment is like, whoa. I'm happy to be in this position right now.
That is so exciting. This is your first book, you said.
Yeah.
That's so great. Let's talk a bit about your book. As we said earlier, the title of the book is ¿Qué hace un negro como tú en un sitio como este? Translated, what a Black man like you is doing in a place like this. I assume that the very title and the book also is based on your life experience. So what it's like to be Black in Spain, and what inspired you to write a book on racism?
What inspired me to write this book is that when I grew up in Spain, in Huesca, I felt like sometimes there were things happening to me because of my skin color, because where my parents came from, because of my religion, because I came from a Muslim family, and there were a lot of things going through my life, like when I was playing football and there was other people insulting me because I was Black. When once I tried to go into a club and they didn't allow me to get into the club because I was Black, there was certain things that was happening to me, and I never knew at that moment why was that happening. So that's why I write this book, because I wanted to share some answers to that questions and to shed some light to those experiences, and to say that there is a structural racism in our society, and by knowing how it develops in our society is the first step to eradicate the racism on our society.
Thank you for sharing your life experience with us. And I have to say, your life story isn't easy, hasn't been easy. But I like how you turn these unpleasant experiences into something beautiful, like your activism, like this particular book. So what are your expectations on this book?
What I hope with this book is that when people read it, after they read the book, they start to be anti-racist. I think there is a lot of people who are like very comfortable living in a society where we have racism, as there are a lot of people who live really comfortable in a society with a lot of sexism. And I think now is the moment to be anti-racist, to take action in every part of our society. It can be in the media, it can be in the social media, it can be in our group of friends, in our family. Every time, every moment, every place is a good way to be anti-racist. And I hope that when people read this book, say, okay, this is what is happening right now, so we have to do things to change how the system works.
There is really such strong message. And I wish you from the bottom of my heart a lot of success with your new book. And I have no doubts it's going to be a huge hit.
That's it.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about your career as a journalist. I'm wondering, when did you know exactly that you were going to be a journalist? I mean, what made you to take that turn in your life, to take that direction?
Okay. When I decided to study journalism in Madrid, it was because I was a huge fan of sports, especially in football.
Me too.
And okay, and so that was the main goal I had when I get into the to the university. But when I finished the university, I think the last thing I wanted to do is to be a sports journalist, because during that time I saw how the power of the media was very useful to change people's lives. So I thought it was a great opportunity to talk about what nobody was talking about. And I'm talking about race, how the migration affects our society. And I wanted to talk about that. So when I finished, I tried to do my work, and I went to Socialismo, and I done a lot of things to put the light on these topics that there are not really covered in the media. So that's why I started and I continued, and now I'm working as a journalist.
Now you're a successful journalist. Yeah, if I may notice, you as a journalist, you have a huge responsibility in educating and re-educating masses on all kinds of discrimination, racism, xenophobia, and you give yourself a mission of breaking prejudices and to fight discrimination with spreading the truth and the facts. On the other hand, you must have encountered many fellow journalists who share the same profession as you, but who use their voices to spread racist and discriminatory narratives. And this can be very dangerous if we know how important role mass media have in shaping public opinion. So what can we do to counter spreading hate content and fake news in the media by media?
Okay, I think one thing is that every journalist work should be based on the respect to the human rights. I think that's very important. Every work that we do should be based on the respect on the human rights. And that's something that sometimes doesn't happen. After that, I think there is if we talk about journalists as a way to tell how our society is and how the society works, I think we must mm, open our minds and talk about what's happening to all the society. But what we have found I found during these years is that in Black people are only represented in the media like the people who are dying every time, the people who are dying, the people who are suffering, or as the criminals, as the people that are only doing bad things. And at some point, like we are like the first ones that achieve a record or something. But we must like tell the truth on what's happening. And I think that's the best way to tackle all the fake news, all the bad things that are being spreading in the media and in social media, and that affect us and that put a lot of stereotypes on us.
And that is a really interesting perspective. Thank you, Moha. And I found this issue really important. And I wish we could talk more about it, but we would probably need a separate event just to talk about this issue. So I don't want to waste more time because I wanted to ask, I read somewhere that you were a victim of racist attacks on your social media profiles. And as someone who has experienced online hate speech in both real life and in online world, what do you think? Where is this kind of behavior more present, in real life situation or in online world on the internet?
I think the hate speech that we find in the social media is exactly the same hate speech that we find outside the social media. Mm-hmm. The difference is that there are some parts of how we use and how the social media is developed that can be used in the benefit of the people who spread those hate, and like the people who can go anonymous in the internet, or the difficulty to get where the people live and from where they put the tweets. And I think that's the problem. I think we should put the responsibility on the social media companies who doesn't put all the tools for us to report those insults, those threats, even death threats, and they have to give us the tools and make it easy for us to report all those things, and make the social media a good place for people of color, for women, for LGBT people. And I think that should be one of the main goals of the social media. But I think they benefit time and time again the people who just spread hate speech.
That is true, unfortunately. And yes, internet offers this veil of anonymity to a lot of people who are spreading such content, and without having to disclose their identity. So that is why perhaps this type of behavior is more frequent on the internet. What do you think? How can we use media to fight this kind of discrimination? How to use it right to combat discrimination and xenophobia, racism?
I think we have a great opportunity with like the new online newspapers, some social media profiles. I think we have the opportunity to tell some stories, or to cover some stories that usually don't go in the mainstream media. I think we have a huge opportunity for that. And I think we should be able to tell our stories, to share our stories in a place where anybody can find us on the internet and outside the internet. So I think it's important to that change even in the mainstream media, who should embrace the diversity that there is in our society. We are tired of seeing like white males writing about the politics, writing about economics, and we don't have other perspectives of our society. We don't usually have in the mainstream media like Black people talking about politics or talking about economics. We don't used to have like a lot of women even right now in 2021, in 2021, talking about economics or politics. And I think that has to change. And I think that's a powerful way to make a change through social media, like opening our minds, like covering more stories, affecting to more people, and trying to embrace the diversity that is right now in our society.
That's such a great point, Moha. Yeah, I agree with you. We need to embrace our differences and to create a safe place for everyone on the internet. So at the beginning, I already mentioned that you developed If I Were a Black Character in a movie. It was a show, or what was it? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, it was a show of like maybe 50 minutes. And during that show, I was talking about different stereotypes that we have seen during these years in films, in TV series, in advertisements, where the black people were like the first ones who die in the films, where the black people were the ones who were the people who are uncivilized, or the people who don't know how to use electronic devices, that kind of people, or the people who came from Africa, which is a place with a lot of only lions, no food, no water, and that is stereotypes. And during this show, I was trying to talk about this, but with some humor, with some irony, to put a light on this. And while we were like laughing about all these stereotypes, at the same moment, we were learning about how we were represented in the media, in the films, and everywhere. So we can, in the next time, when we watch a TV show and we see a black person represented with some stereotypes, we can say, "Oh, I saw this in Moha show, and I know that this is not okay. So let's make a change. Let's put a message on social media, or let's write an article showing why this is bad and showing why we should change that to make a real message for our society."
That sounds like a really interesting show. Is it available online? Can we find it? Can we watch it?
Not yet, but I hope so. In the next months, we can maybe find it in some platform.
And I'm really excited to watch it if there is opportunity. We have a couple of more minutes left, so I would like to ask for your advice for all the young people, given that a lot of young people are watching us right now and we are kind of stuck at homes like throughout this whole year. And I would like to ask you for an advice on how can we make the best, how can we use this time while we are at home in the right way to stay active online? How can we engage virtually on the right way? It is really important for us to stay active online, but in nothing like scrolling social media. We really love to, we young people would really love to engage online in activities and campaigns. What do you think?
A few things. One, I think the people who are like sharing content or trying to make a difference in our society, we should be able to share our message through different ways. And I think that's something that should be especially focused for young people. I know when I talk about racism that probably would be better if I talk about racism for really young people via TikTok rather than writing an article on an online newspaper. And I think we should know that. We should know that talking and trying to make that change using TikTok or using Instagram or using an online article doesn't make words for the doesn't make it bad for that message. I think that the best thing is that, okay, so how can we reach to really young people? How can we share our message to those young people. We know we have to use like their platforms, use like their way of talking, the way of thinking, or even they should be the ones who use their platforms to spread that message. And I think that's something that I found during these years. Like there are always like adults or older people telling us how to do the things. And I always say, okay, I know which message I want to sell, but I'm gonna use the ways that the people around me, the other young people, use to share it. And for the second thing, I think it's important to stay active, to find the best way for everybody. There is people who are interested, like let's say, in food, and who are good in the kitchen. And I think that can be a good option to know about other cultures, to know about diversity in our society, to share through the food. And I think we should find that points that connect us in different ways to say, okay, we are connecting from here and we can get to this next point. And I think that's one of the ways that young people can stay active and can try to make a real change in our society.
Thank you, Moha. That's such a really useful advice for all the young people who are watching this event right now. So tell me, what is your favorite social media platform for spreading your activist ideas for?
Yeah, when I share like my political opinions and my articles, I use Twitter. And during these years, I've developed a huge impact on that social media. But when I want to talk like from a more personal way, I use Instagram, and I really have a nice time using Instagram because I love to use the stories, and I also like to use the memes, and and I really have fun on there. So Twitter and Instagram are my favorite social media platforms.
That's great. Thank you. We also love Instagram. We have a couple more questions from the audience that we received through the Instagram.
Okay.
So I would like to ask you, this came from someone named Hello Eko. Are there any activists that you would recommend following on social media?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna recommend you a few Spanish activists that I follow. One is named Lucia Bomio. I don't know if I can spell it or write it in another place, and you can share it. Lucia Bomio, which is also a journalist, a Black journalist, and she's been doing a really good job. And she's also very active on Instagram. She puts like very interesting stories. And also, I would like to recommend Desiree Vela. She's a writer. She's also an activist, and she talks about feminism and anti-racism, how racism and sexism affects to Black women. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. We have another one. It is from someone. Nickname is Dzulisa Otuzbir. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this well. Social media really help to fight with racism. It is a question, or is just used like a trend?
Oh, that's a good question. But I think yes, we should use social media to fight against that hate speech. And I think we have like a really big opportunity because we can connect globally. We can also share our stories in our own way. And I think at the end of the day, there are like more good things on the social media than bad things. But also, always the bad things affects us much more than the good things. And that's really bad. But I think yes, we can use the social media to make change, and I think it's not a trend. I think this is something that is gonna stay, and probably is gonna take us much more time than it's taking right now.
Thank you very much. And we have one more question from Armin from Bosnia. His question is there going to be any possibility for us from Western Balkans to read your book? Sounds really interesting.
Okay, so if you are willing to read the book in Spanish, which for me would be a surprise, a real surprise.
Well, I already told you that we are raised by Spanish telenovelas, so we understand it pretty well.
Spanish telenovela. Okay, I didn't expect this. Okay, right now it just can only be bought in Spain. Only can be sent outside Spain through Amazon. That's the only way. But I hope maybe can be published in other countries. I hope so, if the book goes well. So let's see, maybe it can be published there.
Yes, we will see. You never know what's going to happen. We also have a question, one more question we received from Nevena from Serbia. She said, could you send one message now from top of your head on how to motivate young people to stay active in times of lockdown?
Okay, for me, it was very important to build safe spaces between my group of friends. Like we stayed when we were like locked down at home. We organized like a lot of I'm not gonna say parties, like where at some point we were like having dinner all together and sharing like in the Zoom meeting, and it was really nice to stay in touch, to make as we were in a special situation. We said, okay, we are gonna do like special things. Like we didn't have the need to do that, but we did that because we wanted to stay active, to know of each other, and to get outside our everyday, like in front of the computer, just working and that. But I think also we can still use the social media. During the lockdown in Spain, I used it to make a few of Instagram lives talking about books. And each one of the people that I invited talk about one book that they would recommend. There was like interesting conversations because at that moment in the lockdown, we were like all reading and spending time also with the books. And I think it was a good initiative to stay active and to keep focus on the things. I think even if we are locked down, the world is not stopping. The problems are still outside. The things are still going outside. So even if we are at home, always we can still make changes.
That is so true. Thank you, Moha. And we received not a question, but a comment in Spanish language. So please forgive me if I butchered the Spanish accent. It says, enhorabuena, Moha. Gracias por compartir tu historia y lucha con nosotros. Mucha suerte con tu show.
Okay, muchas gracias, I would say.
Moha, thank you for taking your time to talk to us today. And I must say, you are a real inspiration. And I'm sure that a lot of young people who are watching us, they were inspired with you today. And I wish you to inspire many, many more young people around the world with your wonderful work.
Thank you, Dzulisa. You have done it really well. And I would like to send them the message that we, in this moment, we have to be anti-racist. We have to take action. We can be anti-racist at any moment, at any place, everywhere. So I think it's just the moment to put the things together and to work on it.
Thank you. That is such a strong message and something to think about. Before we leave, I would ask everyone who are watching us right now to stay with us because we have an interesting creative break prepared for you in the next few moments coming up. After that, we're going to have a short 15 minutes break. And we're back here at 7 p.m. when my colleague Alexander Karatosho will commence with session number 2, when he will host always amazing and inspiring young woman Hera Hussain. So make sure to be back with us at 7 p.m. sharp. Thank you very much, and thank you, Moha, once more.
Thank you.